Welcome to the LaunchFamily Podcast, where we make sense of modern parenting one real conversation at a time. I'm your host, Jessica Shelley, a mom of six, former teacher, and your trusted friend helping you cut through the noise of today's parenting overload. Today's episode is for every parent who has ever wondered if they're doing enough. I'm thrilled to welcome Rachel Pedersen, a digital marketing expert, wildly popular content creator, and mom of three whose real, raw take on motherhood has resonated with millions. She's built a thriving business while raising a family, and she's here to talk about the honest, messy, empowering journey of parenting in the age of algorithms, expectations, and emotion. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Jessica, I'm so excited to be here. But first up, when you mentioned that you were a mother when we were talking earlier, you didn't say you had 6 kids. What? I'm just going to leave and bow down to the parenting experts here because what? 6? I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I mean, honestly, and I live and breathe this all the time whenever anyone mentions the 6 kids, it's like every number is hard. We're all navigating motherhood. We all have our own journeys and experiences that shape what our day-to-day look like. And so I'm just so grateful to have this conversation and dive into your experience and your journey. On social media, you shared really openly about the highs and lows of parenting. Can you tell us a little bit more about your family and maybe any key lessons that motherhood has taught you?
Goodness, I feel like everything in life is a motherhood lesson. Okay, so I'm obviously mom. I have an amazing husband, Paul. Fun fact, we actually met and then eloped 13 days later, and now we're coming up on 11 years of marriage. So it seems impulsive, but now we're backing it up officially with time. And Paul's great. He's an incredible dad. There's one thing I want to share, and this is big, is find the person who can be your team member in everything in parenting and business. Find someone where you're on the same side, on the same team, and that that makes it easier whether you have 3 kids or 6. Okay, so we have 3 amazing kids. We have Dakota. She is turning 15. I have a high schooler. I have a high schooler. That is so weird. I'm like, is it time to buy retinol? I have an almost 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. So it goes Dakota, Delilah, and Dominic. And then we also have 2 dogs, 1 cat, and 3 horses. We are a little bit animal heavy in this house. But we have a really fun dynamic, and something that's really fascinating. This is weird. I've never shared this before because people don't normally ask me about parenting or what my experience has been like. In my book Unfiltered, I talked about how you are the adult in the room in business. You have to remember you don't need to go and seek validation, etc. But in parenting, something that's actually really helped me is to stop pretending as though we feel like an adult. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but something really helped me. I remember as a teenager and as a kid, I was like, I wish my parents would just be normal and talk to me like they have real feelings and struggles and hopes and dreams and stuff. I remember feeling disconnected from adults at times because they were pretending to be adults, like we all are. And so we have a lot of really open and raw conversations with our kids. We don't really have oh, these are adult only conversations. It's more like they can kind of hear anything that's going on at any time. And I found it really opens their communication with us. So when they get home from school or activities, they park at the end of our bed or where we're working. And it's so hard because I'm still working on this carousel, or whatever, But it opened up communication a lot because I wasn't treating our kids as though they weren't future adults. So that's one thing that has been super, super helpful. And then another thing that's really big is the power of laughter. And I actually believe in this in business too. I always have this litmus test, if I'm not having fun, I'm out. If this isn't enjoyable, at least let's say 40 to 50% of the time, no. So we do a lot of games and things that make us laugh and things that are unexpected. And so we'll play some games that are a little cheekier and Quiplash or not Cards Against Humanity yet or anything like that. But I love to laugh with my kids. So I'm always like, oh, you guys want to watch White Chicks? Let's do it. And we have all those inside jokes forever. So I'm a big believer in laughter bonds a family so much.
Oh, I love that perspective too. And I think laughter is one of those like unifying things, right? Like no matter where we go, if we're not enjoying life, if we're not enjoying company, like maybe we should consider like what we're doing, right? Um, so, and I think too, social media, we can talk about this too a little bit, but like this idea of comparison, right? And so then sometimes what happens is we see like this perfect glamour reel on Instagram or TikTok, and we're like, oh my gosh, my house doesn't look this way. My kids don't dress this way. All of those things that can kind of make us feel like we're less than as a mom of like, oh, something's wrong with me. Um, but I love that piece that you talk about, like just the joy. Like motherhood is an incredible journey, and social media can sometimes make us feel we fall into the comparison trap and like make us feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible mom. Motherhood isn't for me. When in reality, it's like, okay, it's going to look different for everyone, and find the things that your kids enjoy doing. So I love that you bring up laughter as a big piece of that too. You're very successful and very ambitious and have multiple types of businesses and things that you're doing. And so, what do you wish that more parents knew when it comes to like balancing ambition and also family life? Like, how do you do it?
Oh, um, oh man, I'm glad it's not 9 a.m. as we're recording this,
Tough
before
question. Tough
coffee and
question.
stuff. It's really interesting because I think sometimes the squeaky wheel does get the grease.
Mm,
Um, when you're balancing kids and a business, I mean, each one is like its own family a little bit. Like it has all the different elements of squeaky wheels and stuff. It's not easy to balance both. So I'm a big believer of just being super clear of what hat I'm wearing. So when the kids do plop down and I'm in the middle of a project, I'm like, hey, I would love to hear what you have to say. I'm super excited to talk about this later. I got to finish this work first and make sure that we get things going, especially like in summer. And now we've got one kid in homeschool. So I have to know, like, am I in mom mode or am I in business owner mode? As a business owner, I'm a lot more like, let's go, let's make things happen. Let's like, do 10 times more than we're supposed to. Let's have so much fun. Let's test and try. And I'm pretty aggressive and intense versus as a mom, my kids always tell their friends, they're like, my mom's so chill. They're not saying I'm a cool mom. They're saying she's chill. She's just chill. She's fun, she'll adapt things, etc. So in my personal life with kids and as a mom and as a wife for the most part, I'm a lot more chill. And so I'm big into saying like which mode am I in right now? And I don't like to do both at the same time. So I've tried to do both at the same time. It's really hard. So I'll do a lot of like early mornings to finish a project before the kids are awake so that I can pay full attention in each zone. I'll sometimes do late nights when we have big clients or different things going on. Um, it is never perfect though. I want to share that. It doesn't matter how big your business is, how successful it is. It does not feel like a like a perfect, finely tuned machine in all areas at all times. There's always something that needs attention, and I almost feel like for me, the big aha was something's always going to be a little bit broken and demanding your attention in each area of life. And once I accepted that, I was like, oh, I'm not failing if something is breaking. I'm failing if I'm pretending that it's not. Yeah, that was
yeah.
big.
That is huge. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm a multi-time founder as well. And so running an ed tech company and now running a fam tech company. And then I have some consulting that I do as well. And one of the things that I often get asked this question. And so I was so eager to ask you of like, what is your take?
Yeah.
And one of the things that has popped out for me, which is like boundaries over balance, right?
Yes.
And like boundaries when it comes to time, because when I'm thinking about, like you talked about, like the focus zones,
Mhm.
I that is how I operate too. It's like if I'm in work, like if someone's talking to me, sometimes I can't even hear it. It's like if I'm in the office and I'm like in those heavy concentration modes, it's like
Yeah. You
I'm not
respond
sure what's
5
happening. I
minutes
can hear
later, they're
something.
already out of the room. You're like, "Oh, I know what you're having for lunch tomorrow. Oh, where are you?" You know? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Hmm. It is not glamorous. I really wish more people realized that there is no glamorous lifestyle unless you win the lottery for 2 billion, and even then there are still going to be challenges, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. And delegation too, like coming back
Mhm.
to one of your earlier points about having a really supportive partner, like, knowing who can kind of help with the business or who can help at home, and like understanding that your boundaries are set, but then also like you have to flex. Like as a mom, like if
Mhm.
something happens and they're hurt or injured or need to go to the doctor, like the business, no matter what, will take second seat to
Always.
that always.
It always.
So, and like just like if you're preparing for a big client meeting or a big presentation or something like that, sometimes it's like, hey, can you do a bedtime routine tonight? And I will, pick up morning or whatever. I just need to finish up this project.
Yeah, one
Um,
thing I wanna brag on Paul about, because he's really private, so he basically doesn't even have social media. He's actually logged into all of my social media accounts and just supports with the things throughout the day. So he's gotten to a point, and this is rare. I don't think this is normal for men or for women. He, like, intuitively picks up on what I need. So if he sees that I'm working longer than I had expected just based on what we had communicated at the beginning of the day, he'll instantly flex into dad mode and start prepping dinner. He's like, I'm gonna prep dinner. Hey, don't worry about it. I got it. And there's this like intuitive thing. I'm not even that good in our marriage. Like he's even better than I am. And he just like senses where I am as like the linchpin of movement in our family. And then he'll be like, I'm gonna flex into the different roles. I'll pick up the kids. I'll take Dakota to that appointment or whatever. And he'll do it in the business too. It's just that's kind of more of my jam still at this point. He's so great. I love him. I'm obsessed with him. Oh,
well, that's a good thing to be.
I think so.
I love it. Okay, so then I want to go to like the nth degree, right? And talk about
Yeah.
burnout a little bit.
Huh?
And you've been open about talking about burnout too. So what were some of those signs for you and what helped you kind of find your way back?
I actually, the last 3 months, just got out of a 3-year burnout.
Mhm.
So, some people listening to this may know my journey. It's very documented, it's very public. It was really messy. About 3 years ago, I had like a massive mental breakdown that was probably long overdue, and was diagnosed bipolar type 1, learned about like the trauma from childhood and how it affected me. But then shortly after that, my dad died, and then I broke my arm. And I was like, I just hate everything. I hate everything. I've fallen out of love with life. And so I still did some stuff. I was very lazy in that season, which I highly recommend. When you are burnt out, don't try to do more, or you'll end up in a grippy sock vacation. Ask me how I know. I'm a big believer of you gotta in the moments, like, step back and be like, "I'm resenting what I'm doing right now. This isn't the relationship I want with my work." So, if you can catch it in real time, I don't know, do you ever believe, like, that lie where it's like, you've just gotta keep going? And sometimes it's like, "No, I've gotta take the afternoon off. I can't touch another computer." Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Yes. So the last 3 years, I felt like I kind of limped along the across the board. We were, like, milking the previous 9 years or 8 years, and it was pretty rough, and I feel like it showed. I feel like I saw, some comments and people would say, like, "It doesn't feel like her heart's in this," or, "It doesn't feel like she's excited about this," and I was like, "I wanna argue with that, and I can't. You're so right. I'm over all of this." So it took 3 years of kind of, like, halfway showing up, but knowing I wasn't fulfilling my potential, and that's what it took to recharge burnout, and then 3 months ago, it finally was like, I'm excited again. But it took me 3 years, and I don't feel like people share that reality of what do you do when you resent your own business that you've built, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, a little bit about my journey, which has not been as documented as yours. But my first company, which was an ed tech company, we actually just started winding down operations of that last month. So we are in like the fresh, and then we worked on that for like 5 years.
Mhm.
And so it is like very freshly, I would say like very raw. So when people are like, "Oh, how's business going?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Hard to
I'm not
answer
sure.
when you're
I'm not
going
sure
through that
what."
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And we just had baby number 6 in December, so he's almost 6 months old. And so I remember like back in those times as we were getting ready for that transition of welcoming him, like all of the kids, of course, love whenever they have a new brother or sister, but um I was like navigating some like prenatal and postpartum stuff that was happening. And I'm like, I don't know, like the business pulls so much away from my family. And then I was like, well, what if this is our last baby? And then like, I'm not able to like soak it
Yeah.
all up because I'm like, just totally in focus mode on the business.
Mhm.
And then with the business kind of coming to an end recently, it's like, oh my gosh, well, maybe this was for a reason. Like I'm looking at it from different angles and considering different perspectives. But,
Mhm.
you know, when you're going through all of that, it can feel very isolating too, because especially I feel like as an entrepreneur where they're like, nobody else has ever built this business that I've built. So
Yep.
how do they actually know what goes into what I'm doing on the day to day?
So
Um,
true. How old is your oldest, by the way?
my oldest is 9. So
Okay. So
yeah,
you
they're very.
started having kids young, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. First
So,
baby at 22.
yep, first baby at 21. Well, this one helps me all the time. I think about this, and this might be helpful to anyone who maybe front loaded having kids. You know how we like shortcut parts of the journey that other people go on, like maybe going to college or maybe going career path. I always remind myself, my greatest works will come when the kids are grown. And I think about that every single day. And I love that idea so much. Yeah. Like I have a whole life after all my kids are grown because I accidentally front loaded having kids first. And so I think about that. Like, if all we do while they're, on their journey is be incredible parents, and maybe we don't ever have a lavish life. We've experienced it, but it's not the priority. What if that's enough? And what if the greatest works literally are produced the day the third kid turns 18? We can start that. So I always remind myself of that. Like sometimes it's okay to say, I don't need to keep growing beyond this baseline because I'm focused on two things at once at the same time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And business will always be there. I think like that's one of the things that I have kept telling myself is like there will still be opportunities. It's not like you're walking away from everything. Like it's a huge part of what I do. I really truly believe in like supporting families and kids and teachers. Like I was a teacher. Like of course that's like just part of who I am. But I think too, the to your point of like the business will come after the babies is you never get that time back
Mm-mm.
with your kids. It's like when they're 5, they're only 5 one time. Like every single day, they're like 5 and one day. Like you never get that time back. And so I love that perspective too of really focusing in on like what is the most precious commodity, which is that time that we have with our kids, the relationships that we're forming day in and day out, and knowing that there will always be something else to do when it comes to work and making a living.
Oh, agreed.
That's very freeing actually. Like I feel like, oh, okay, like I can take a deep breath today.
Yes. It's wild though. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to get into a couple questions that we have from some of our users at Launch Family. So we've created an AI parenting coach. Her name is Emmy. And so some of these questions have come in from parents directly, and I would love to get your take on them.
Do it.
All right. So the first question is, I feel like I'm failing at everything, work, parenting, and being a partner. How do I stop feeling so guilty?
The
Um,
very first thing I always say to this, even to myself, is you're failing compared to what or who? And I learned that in therapy. That was a big one. My therapist was like, but who are you comparing yourself to? And I realized that because of everything we consume online, it looks like everyone is perfectly thin and perfectly dressed and perfect makeup. And I'm like, I don't have an hour to do a full face like that every day. And their houses are perfect and clean, and their kids are happy and laughing in the background of B-roll videos. And it's like, ah, but what those things did is they actually what they do is they go into our brain and we create these idealized versions of ourselves. And so I had to, this was actually 3 months ago. This was a part of my negotiations to come back into business fully. Instead of saying this is this impossible mark that I need to hit every single day, I said, on a day where everything is going according to plan, on the best days where just things are smooth sailing, this is what I can get done. Anything that comes even close counts. So for example, I may not create like an incredible 4-course meal for the kids on a perfect day. I might on most days, every day I won't. And so I say, what is good enough? Good enough is fed. Cool. Better is veggies. I can throw in, some frozen veggies, quick, so heat those up. So I ask myself, what is the bare minimum that I feel is acceptable? And how can we make it just a little better instead of comparing myself to the idealized version? So ask yourself, like, what am I comparing myself to? Who am I comparing myself to? And it's okay to unfollow people. It's okay to block people. You don't have to give an explanation. It's okay to unfriend people if their patterns aren't bringing out the best in you, but rather are triggering things that are like insecurities and low self-esteem, or even just feeling like there's an unrealistic bar to pass. I do have friends that I have I shouldn't say this, but I do have friends I've unfollowed because I know that their public persona isn't even close to what they are secretly going through. And it feels really hard to read it each time because what they're preaching is a completely misaligned thing from their real life. And I'm like, this isn't who I want to be modeling my life after. So then I unfollow them quietly. Don't tell them.
Yeah. Well, Tom.
But yeah.
But I go through that too, and like I think
Yes. Yeah.
what we're seeing too now with like this rise of AI is authenticity matters now more than ever, and we've seen the damage that social media does. I mean, I'm the millennial generation, and so we like grew up with social media, and same with the Gen Z and alphas and all of the ones that come after us, but we're starting to see the effects of that kind of comparison that's happening. And so urging, I guess, like a warning to content creators, like, please just be authentic. And to your point too, of knowing people in real life and having that maybe disconnect with what's actually being put out there, just knowing and recognizing that.
Yes. There's one more thing that I always do, and this is helpful. I just do this in my head. I don't think I've even told like Paul this, but when I see something that I'm like, oh, that's so dreamy. Like her hair's down to her waist and she clearly styles it in gorgeous styles every day. And I love her contouring. It looks so good. I remind myself, you can actually get that too. Here's what it takes to get that. Is that something you're willing to put in? And if the answer is no, it's like, oh, I have that same option. I can go buy some drugstore makeup and put together a look. I hate spending money on makeup, by the way. So
You're right. I'm like, okay, if I can get it on sale, even better.
yes,
No, it's for like less than $10.
can I get a coupon, please? And I remember, like, you could also have a house that's perfectly decorated in every room and looks like, one of those stores, room and board or whatever. Like, I could have that too. It would take several weekends. It would take several $1,000s. It would take a lot of work, and you wouldn't see the kids on those weekends. And if you're willing to do that, you too can have a perfect home. So, do you want to do the trade? And that really helps me because it reminds me that every single person is deciding what is most important to them and making the decisions that align with that.
Yeah. I love that too. And I think especially when it comes to the home, right? Which is like, it feels like it's in the background. We're all like secretly like looking like, oh, are things put away? Is there dirty laundry on the floor? Like we like subconsciously are looking for a flaw in that like perfect sort of dreamy landscape. But I think too, like we have 6 children. So like there is times when we have like a crayon mark on the wall because the crayons were not put up after we did coloring. Like it is not perfect in our home. And I think too, to that point of, well, what also would you want to teach your children in those moments? I think is another thing. Like, does the house have to be perfect all the time? Like, are we setting unrealistic expectations for what they should aspire to maybe have?
Yeah.
We want our home to feel lived in. And yeah, like there's some stains on the carpet. Like that is, oh, that was from when we had juice or when we were like dying eggs for Easter. Remember? Like, okay, yeah, we see the green stain that's under the rug when we clean, we got it.
I feel that in my soul.
It's related to the memories, right? And ultimately as parents, we want our kids to grow up and, you know, be thriving adults with their own families and children, if that's what they choose. And um, they learn, they're little sponges of everything that we do and everything we say. And so I also think about that of like, oh, if I'm feeling negative about this, would I want my kids to also feel negative about this, like eventually one day? And that is really hard to take that breath in those moments.
Say one more thing because I was just thinking about this. Paul, my husband Paul he's not a neat freak, but kinda. Like he can't walk into a room without wanting to pick up. And I was the slob when we met. I was the one that had like, this is a true story. One day I was driving and I didn't remember lunch for work. And so I grabbed hard-boiled eggs and I was like, I'll eat them while I drive. This is so bad. And so I cracked my hard-boiled egg while I'm driving down the highway. And I had grabbed the wrong egg. So this raw egg just drops on the seat, on the floor, but I'm already running late to work, of course. This was quite a few years ago. And it ended up baking into the carpet of the car. And it was just disgusting. So, like, I was a slob, Paul's the neat one, but we found a really cool compromise as I got neater. And it's that I have 2 rooms for filming at all times, and no one else is allowed to make messes in them. So it kind of makes sense. One is like blocked off. This one is, they have no reason to be in here. It's not fun. It's just books. And that helped so much for when there was clutter all across the house, just having designated areas where it's like nobody else gets to go in here. And at first it was one space.
That's a great perspective too. I think when you have multiple bodies, it's like, okay, well, where is that safe space where I can also feel creative and like let all of the juices flow with whatever is happening with the business, or maybe I'm journaling, or,
Yep.
maybe I need some time to open up my Bible and do a devotional or something. Like, where is that peaceful area that you can kind of carve out and be like, okay, this is off limits for you all?
Yes. I love
Love
that.
that. I think I need to implement that at home. Behind my camera right now is my kids. We have like our oldest 3 boys, so they have like their little like closet area behind my camera. So it's
Right.
like my office is like half family closet, half mom space. But I'm like, maybe we need to like put your clothes back in your room.
Yeah.
So, I'm learning things as we're talking. This is great. The other question that we have from the parent community is, I want to model confidence and creativity for my kids, but I'm stuck in survival mode. Where do I start?
Oh, this one is layered. So I always go back. I'm secretly super into psychology and understanding like how our human minds work. It's probably the thing I study the most, believe it or not. And have for 5 years. It's so fascinating. So I always go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I remember when I was a single mom in poverty, on food stamps, on welfare, I was struggling with alcohol addiction. Life was just falling apart. I'm depressed. I'm secretly bipolar. I didn't know it. So pure survival mode. And I became a hairstylist. And that was really, really tough because I wasn't feeling safe yet. And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the top of the pyramid, right up here, we have like creativity and inspiration and fulfillment and purpose. At the bottom, the first couple of rows of the pyramid, is things like security, safety, housing, food, basic needs. So you have to have the bottom of that pyramid of our needs filled before you can truly tap into creativity. And I'm straight up going to tell you, I've experienced this firsthand. Otherwise, you are operating from a place of your past traumas, your limitations, etc. And so, believe it or not, can you try to force some creativity? Yes. But your greatest works and creativity and collaborations and expansiveness is going to come from when you first and foremost focus on, I'm going to get my basic needs met. And then I'm going to heal the parts of me that don't quite recognize yet that I'm not in survival anymore. And that takes a little bit longer. What was helpful for me was to be like, what are these parts of me that are still feeling scared and are trapped in the past? There's a fantastic book that really helped me with this. It's called No Bad Parts. And No Bad Parts, I believe it's written by a doctor. I can't remember his name, but it basically talks about how we all have this child part of us. It's a child who's trapped inside, right? And sometimes that child part of us hasn't grown up and hasn't learned the things that are real today. And this is based on psychology, which is so wild. And we almost have to like reparent ourselves at times and be like, it's okay, like we're safe now. Even if you have to tell yourself, I'm safe now 100 times a day, that's going to jumpstart the process of allowing your body and your mind to recognize, okay, we're actually safe and now we can paint. So that's pretty helpful. It's just a physiological process, both in the body and the brain.
That's incredible. I've heard of Maslow's in relation to like supporting children at school, right? Like if they come to school hungry, we have to feed them first. If they're tired, of course, like let them rest because we can't get into anything beyond that until basic needs are met. And so I love this perspective too of um, even considering like our past and like our history and our childhood, right? And how that could even be inhibiting where maybe we experienced something like I grew up, my parents were divorced when they were two, and there was a lot of trauma that I experienced as well. And not even realizing that that may be hindering some pieces of that connection with my kids, or maybe like potential triggers or things that are coming up that would be like, oh no, we're not doing that. Like I was never allowed to paint unless it was like we had paper all across the table, like whatever it could be that we're like subconsciously like trying to
Mhm.
control maybe with our children too.
Yeah, what we don't this was a quote, I can't remember whose it is, but they said it might have even just been one of my therapists. She said, what we don't address and become aware of, we pass down.
Oh,
And right there was that moment where I was like, and this was all for me, that 3-year process 3 years ago. I was like, I don't want to be secretly broken anymore. Like, I don't want to be carrying the grim reaper of poverty behind me and people pleasing. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Jessica, it was completely out of control. Like, it was running how I was operating with clients. It was wearing me out because everything was based on fear, not creativity and expansion. And the difference today is wild. Now I'll come to a client and be like, here's one line, and this one line is going to change everything versus here are 75 pages because I want to over deliver so that you don't say, oh, she's not worth it and she should be poor.
that is incredibly deep. I think that like that is something to just like sit in. Like I don't want to like say anything more. Like a moment of silence, I think just to like consider.
Yeah.
Whoa, that is mind blowing. What are some of those things that you do like in your daily life to kind of like help like stay grounded and centered on what your vision is and
Yep.
help that creativity flow?
Yeah, there's a few things. One that really helps me, and you can do this in survival mode or expansion mode, is you've got to get grateful for what is good in your life. And that can be as simple as not having food. There was a time a while back, I called my sister and I was freaking out about life. And she's like, hold on, reality check. Rachel, have you ever gone without food? And I said, actually, no, not even in my worst seasons. And she's like, okay, have you ever not had a roof over your head? Like, have you had to sleep on the street in the rain or snow? And I said, no. And she's like, then start with being thankful for those. She was kind of giving me a like, and her name is Jessica too, by the way. You guys actually look a little similar, which is a little freaky.
Whoa.
Yeah, just a little. It's funny. So, but she like gave me the tough love, like, be grateful for that. And I started there, and then suddenly it was like, oh, I'm grateful we have Kleenexes because I didn't have Kleenexes growing up. Like, those are fantastic. And you just start to be like, wow, I'm really grateful. And so then Paul got in on it. And now we're constantly throughout the day saying to each other, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that we're able to pay this bill and not stress. And the little things are the things that make the biggest difference. It's not, I'm so grateful I have a yacht. We don't. Uh, but being grateful, like, I'm so grateful we can afford 6 fresh organic bananas. I'm so grateful for that. It sounds so cheesy. It's probably so annoying to listen to, but like, it has helped so much. And I intentionally meditate on gratitude. I combine the two, meditude. I meditate on gratitude as I'm falling asleep, and that's replaced the anxiety, the constant like, you have so much to do tomorrow, you're behind on everything, there are 17 projects, why don't you just wake up and work now? That right there has made all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking back now to one of the experiences when I was in my undergrad program to become a teacher. My husband now, at the time we were just engaged, like, but he had lost his job and because we had gotten into a car accident, he lost his job. I'm a full-time student. I'm like working two
Gosh.
jobs. And there was a time when we could not afford a gallon of milk and all we had was like a box of mac and cheese. And so
Yep.
we had like a quarter cup of vanilla coffee creamer and we're like, it'll work, right?
Yep.
And so whenever like this idea of gratitude, we're like, oh, at least we have milk. We have milk. We can make a box mac and cheese with milk because I can tell you, do not sub vanilla coffee creamer in your mac and cheese.
Done that, by the way. I did that. It's disgusting.
It is a
Do not do it.
It is
Yeah.
no.
Tell me.
Make it with water instead. It's
Oh
not
my
good.
gosh.
Like sweet mac and cheese. But yeah, that's like now our inside joke when we're like getting into this kind of cycle too of forgetting how grateful and like blessed that we truly are. Uh, It's like we have milk. And then we just know, like, okay, we have been worse off before. There are people that are more worse off than we are. And how can we also then uplift if we have that, if we're in that position to then do that?
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah. Well, how has your journey through parenting really like, I guess, defined or changed your definition of what success looks like?
Okay, so in the past, I feel like when the kids were young, before they started really having strong opinions in conversations, I was just like, oh, uh, the faster I can rise, the more goals I can hit, the more everything, stages, awards, all my awards are up here. All those things, like my kids are going to be so proud when their friends come over. And I've actually been really disappointed that nobody cares about my YouTube play button. And that's like a really good metaphor for realizing that like what our kids care about is that it's a safe home, and they care about like, can my friends come here and feel like they can, and if the answer is yes, they feel good about it. And mom and dad aren't too embarrassing. Like those are the things that they care about. Is there love? And do we, all grow together and have great conversations? So these last 3 years have been big because I've been able to say to our oldest, I kind of messed up the first few years. It was my first try. I didn't know what I was doing. And we allowed our kids to start weighing in at a once a month. It's once a month to once a quarter. Lately, it's been once a quarter because it's been smoother. We've had these like grievance airing meetings where it was
Gosh, I love that idea.
yeah. And it was like, so this is the chance. Each person gets to share any grievances they had. There's no defensiveness. We'll communicate through it, decide if apologies are needed, etc. And you want to know what's crazy and humbling? Most of the grievances were aimed at me. And I was like, okay. And I realized like my kids really and truly don't care the difference between where we're at and where we could be. Like they just don't care. They just want love and acceptance. And that sounds all cheesy and great, but it's true. Like they demanded it. And I was like, I love hearing from them, hey, mom, you were focusing on the wrong things. And they were right. So it kind of made me say, I don't want to work late nights. And if people are like, hey, we want you to speak at this event, I got to take it really into consideration because that's a week away from my kids during X, Y, and Z, their important events. So it hasn't made me pull back on business, but it's made me become more intentional with what I say yes to. And then there is the success deferred. So once they are grown, my greatest works will come, and everything else that happens in the meantime is bonus.
I love that perspective. And like, what a great way to kind of like summarize the whole kind of thread of the conversation today. Last question and perspective, which I think is related to that. But, what do you hope that your kids remember most about how you showed up for them? Like, what is this like?
Oh, I think about this a lot. And the thing that comes up the most is I want my kids to say, Mom was fun. She always had like a twinkle in her eye, or she was quick to laugh, or she, was able to make big, scary situations feel like smaller and manageable. That's kind of more than anything. I have become my kid's friend for sure. I was always like, I'm not your friend at first. And I realized like, no, I want them to say like, I respect her because she's an adult, but she's still fun. Not cool. You know the difference, right? I'm not a cool mom, but I want to be fun. I want us to enjoy life and have adventures and stuff. So if they can remember me smiling and laughing with them, I've done my job.
I love that. And I feel like we are so aligned in that too of like, it's
Yes.
the safe place to land. It's the fun. It's the
Yes.
upbeat sort of nature for life, like not taking anything too seriously because otherwise at the end of the day, we're all just like bored.
Yeah. Then we could be AI. We could outsource our parenting to AI if it wasn't fun, because
Yeah.
AI is not always funny. We've tested it. It's very rarely funny. But that's that's a fun point.
Yes, no, I love that. The human element of parenting is so incredibly valuable too. Like it's not something to outsource. It should be something that we value and hold on to, like the most precious treasure that we could ever attain. So
Agreed.
uh, yes. Well, Rachel, I just want to thank you so much for being here and showing up fully as yourself, being vulnerable with us in the conversation. You know, the honesty, humor, and heart are exactly what so many parents need to hear as they're navigating through all of the complexities of life. To our listeners, if today's episode made you feel seen, make sure that you subscribe, leave a review, and check the show notes to follow Rachel, connect with her work, and find more about Launch Family tools that can meet you where you are. Until next time, remember that you don't have to parent like anyone else. Just start where you are and grow from there. You've got this, and we're here with you.